So let's talk about habits and what it means to you. We should be intentional about our habits because they produce the results in life that we want or not. So here's a question for you. Is there a need to change? I ask you this question. Are your current habits producing all the results that you really want? That's a very, very powerful question I want to ask you as you're thinking about, do you want to work on your habits? Are the habits that you have, are the habits that you do, are the habits that are part of your life really producing the results that you want? And I want to dive into that. I want to give you some distinctions. I want to look at different areas. We're going to talk about different roles and the habits that you have in those roles. And then I've got one strong exercise that I believe can really impact your daily habits. So here we go. What bad habits do you want to eliminate? What good habits do you really want to leverage, expand on, model for those around you? I'd like you to take a look at the different primary roles that you play in life. And today we're going to talk about 4. You can obviously expand that, but I want to go through these 4 together. I want to talk about you and your role as a manager of your own life. I want to talk about the role you play as a spouse, a role you play as a parent, the role you play as a business person or an entrepreneur, depending on the role that you play, and you may play in both. I want to go through each one of those very specifically. I'd like you to think globally for a minute, and I'd like you to rate yourself on a 1 to 10. In just a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause, and I'm going to ask you to look at each one of the 4 roles that are on the screen, and I'd like you to write down a number on a 1 to 10 on how would you say your habits are in that particular area. 10 being extremely high, 1 being extremely low. So go ahead, if you would, and pause for just a moment and rate yourself. Okay, so what you should do now is you should have 4 numbers written down, and obviously the numbers that you have lower are the ones that you really want to be focusing in on. And as I said before we paused, you want to also think about the different roles beyond just the 4 that we have on the screen that we're working with today. We have many, many roles in life, and we want to look at the habits and how they're playing out in each one. Let's talk about self-manager. As a manager of your life, what I've done is put up on the screen some positive habits that I believe are extremely important to me, and I've listed on the right side some habits that I've had to eliminate. And I want to talk about some of these with you. As you're looking at your own habits in this area, in just a moment I'm going to pause and ask you to look at your own habits against some of the things that I'm sharing, but on both sides. What do you want to keep really exploiting? What do you really need to avoid or eliminate? On the left side, you can see eating healthy. That is a habit that I believe everyone that's listening to this should really take a big check and say, have I really developed the habits that allow me to make the best choices, including the habits of what you might bring into your life, what you might bring into snack on, what you might bring into your pantry. Having the good habits from the grocery store to ordering to anything that you may be cooking or preparing. Exercising, how about your habits there? Now I know we all want to be healthier, we want to live a healthy life. Well, it's not just what we take in, but obviously it's exercise as well. Grooming regularly. Do you have haircuts to the level that you should? Are you really taking care of your wardrobe to the level that you could? And really being sharp. Ongoing self-development, making yourself more valuable. That's something that you really need to take a check on yourself and say, in the last month, what are some of the things that I've done, or the last quarter, have I done consistently to continue to make myself better? Am I reading books as part of my daily habits, my weekly habits? Am I studying distinctions? Am I going to seminars, workshops? Am I really bringing new information into my life so I can be more valuable? Am I sharpening my skills? You know, you may notice, and I've seen this oftentimes right here in the studio, that when we're doing a particular event, we'll have clients come in, and as my team is actually putting things up on the screen simultaneously as we're sharpening, there will be little refinements that we found in using Word or using PowerPoint. And when people see how we're doing those, they see the distinctions that my staff has pulled out of some of those software programs. They're like, wow, I've learned that. Wow, I've learned that. And that's really a good habit to get into, is constantly be looking at what other people are doing with other software programs or applications as a habit to say, can you bring that into you? You know, one of the things, I was working with New York Life and one of the top executives over the years, and I noticed that he was really, one of these executives was really into his iPad, and he really looked at the very best applications and really refined how he used that tool as an ongoing way to make himself more valuable. Is that something that you need to do as an ongoing habit? Do you need to constantly be refining your technology and the way that you use that? I would propose it's good for all of us. How about taking the time to refresh? As a habit, once a year I go to Mexico and I sit down on the beach and I refine and I think about my goals. And I've made that a habit for decades of my life where I go down and I just enjoy the sunshine. And maybe that's something you should do, is get into a habit once a year, once a quarter to kind of take a sabbatical, to really step back and really refine where you're going. And then finally, your own goal setting. Now that's something that, as you know, I am a freak on. I just believe so much that being able to be really clear is a good thing. And part of your habits is to really be refining that. What I've seen over the years, though, is I've had to change my habits in this area. For a long time, what I used to do is write out my goals, and I would do that as a habit. And then as time passed, what I did is I started putting it on a computer. And then as phones became stronger, what I've decided to do is to make the habit of refining my goals actually on my phone and then transferring those over to my computer. So if you're not using your phone, maybe your task area or your memo area as part of your habits to be able to sharpen your goals, that's something that you may want to think about doing. Now let's talk about habits to eliminate. Junk food, that was a big deal for me for years, is I just wasn't into a good system, if you will, of saying no to the right things. And I needed to really refine that habit. Unfortunately today, I have procrastination, a habit that all of us, everybody procrastinates. And sometimes procrastination is good. I mean, literally, procrastination comes from when you do self-talk and you say to yourself, self, I can do this tomorrow, and then you do it tomorrow. Or you say, self, it's not just perfect, so I'm going to wait and do it later, versus actually taking that production before perfection and going in and doing it. However, sometimes you may need to say, self, I need some more information, and once I get that more information, then I'll go ahead and make a decision. Now that's good procrastination, but a lot of people have a bad habit of procrastinating, and if you do, you really need to check about your self-talk and thinking about eliminating that habit. How about failure to delegate? Some people just pile stuff on, and they haven't really built a team around them to be able to delegate, not just professionally, but personally as well. And I ask you to think about that. No matter how high up you are as far as a leader or owner of a company, maybe you run a big division, maybe you're an entrepreneur, no matter what your situation is, I ask you to think about, do you have a great habit of delegation? Have you really studied and refined that in a way that helps you be the best you can be? So there you have it. Habits to really work on as far as you're managing yourself. And now what I'm going to do is ask you to go ahead and pause for just a moment, if you would, and I'm going to go ahead and leave this on the screen so you can look at it during the pause and think about habits that you really want to continue to leverage and habits that you need to eliminate. Okay, now let's go through the next area of your life, and that's being a spouse. Now, I know you may not be married, but if you are, or one day you will be, I'd like to talk for a moment about really being a strong spouse. Let me share with you some distinctions here. Communicating appreciation, a great habit. Oftentimes we appreciate our spouse only occasionally, and I know you're asking yourself right now, should I be doing that more? And I'm betting you should, and I'm betting you'd probably like to have your spouse even be watching this, so they're thinking, yeah, they would appreciate me. Yes, appreciation really does build a strong marriage, and I believe it's a great habit to be into. Next, listening. What a beautiful thing to do, really, from anybody that you're close to, but especially your spouse. Being able to take the time, do the eye contact, set up the situations where you really can listen to each other and understand. How about dates? Are you dating your spouse? Maybe you've been married a short time, a long time. I'm going to encourage you to think about that when you are with a person that you love, to really be able to set aside a time on a regular basis to go out and enjoy a movie together, to go out and have dinner together, go out and do things that you really enjoy in your life. Bragging about them, a great habit. Are you really looking at the most positive things about your spouse, bragging to them so they hear it, bragging to others so they hear it? What a great habit to have. And then how about just enjoying hobbies together? Find out what your spouse really likes and find out what you really like. I mean, I'm talking about write it down, find out what you like. I mean, I know you know it, but do you really take the time to type it up and think about those top things and then share it and then put yourself in a position to do that together? So again, good habits on the left side. On the right side, habits to eliminate. Are you focusing on weaknesses? Sometimes I catch myself where I'll zero in on something with my spouse and I'll say, wow, that's something I really don't want her to be doing. But as I step back and go, you know what, am I going to focus on that or am I going to focus on the positive? And I believe it's a better habit, a much better habit to be focusing on because we all have things that we can be better on. How about arguments? Obviously, you've got to communicate. But if you get into a habit of arguing a lot, what is that going to do? It's going to deteriorate your relationship. Any time of put down communication, be careful about that, eliminating anything that might be a negative. Really absorb some things and be careful about what you share. So go ahead. It's your time now, if you would, to think about, I'm going to ask you to pause. I'm going to think about things that you can do better in terms of things you want to eliminate and things that you want to continue to leverage. I'll leave mine up here so you can look if there's anything up there that you like that you can utilize. And I'd like you to go ahead and type it up or write it down right now. So let's go to the role next as of a parent. I believe it's so important to be able to model a lot of what you're doing. You know, your kids are watching you all the time, whether they're young or older or adults, and they're watching what you do. They're watching the habits that you've formed. They're watching the habits that you live out. And I'm going to go through some of mine, but be thinking about not only the habits they're absorbing, but are they the ones that really are allowing you to parent the best that you could. Affirming daily for self-esteem. I love being able to affirm my kids. You know, being able to put a hug around them if they're at home, to be able to share with them, spending one-on-one time regularly. Are you really doing that? Is your schedule so full that you're not doing that? Do you live somewhere else part of the time? Are you traveling a lot? Do you really have a good habit of having that one-on-one connection time? Are you planning that as part of what you do week in and week out? Writing encouraging notes and texts. My daughter's now in college. What do I do all the time? I'm sending her texts. What am I doing? I'm sending encouraging words. I'm praying for her, and I'm sending distinctions so that she can really have a touch with me, even though that we're not there in person. Taking pictures of fun times, winning times, enjoying. Do you have a good habit there? I mean, virtually every phone now has a camera on it. Do you have a really nice camera? Do you have cameras all around you? Are you taking pictures like you could? Are you taking videos like you could? I just encourage you to really think about the whole idea of really building your album, building your memories, if you will, with pictures, sharing those with your kids, sharing those great things with your friends, using Facebook, using many of the things that are available on the web to be able to share that. How about praying together? From the time my kids were young, we would sit down each night and I would pray over them and pray with them as an ongoing habit. So there's some of mine. Now on the right side, things to eliminate. Overcommitting calendar. I've had to do that time to time in my life. Maybe that's one of the things that you may be challenged with, is to being able to say yes to too many things and your calendar's so full that you're not able to spend the time and energy. Not just the time, but the energy. You know, I used to have this belief that said, well, you know, I'm home, but I'd come home and I'd be so tired and I'd be spending that energy, that positive energy with my kids. And I had to change that habit. I had to change the distinction so I wasn't overcommitting and that I was spending that energy with my kids. Lack of follow-through with commitments, over-promising. You know, I believe completion is an important piece. And when you share something with your kids, you know, obviously we all have to renegotiate from time to time on certain things, and being apologetic if the real things come up. But I'm encouraging you to think about not getting into that habit of overcommitting and then not being able to follow through. Overprotecting your kids. Sometimes you got to let them go out there and blossom on themselves, and then pushing too hard. Maybe you have some personal agendas. Maybe you hadn't thought through that, but you have some agendas that you're really pushing on your kids. I encourage you to think about that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and pause now. You kind of got into the rhythm now. As a role, as a parent, I'm going to ask you to think about, I'm going to leave mine up there. What are things you need to be really working on to leverage, things that are good habits, and what are things you need to eliminate? Okay, great. So hopefully you've done that now. So now what I'd like to do is talk about business. Again, whether you work for a company, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether it's both, where you're starting a company, no matter what your situation is, I'd like you to think about professionally for a minute and think about some of your habits. Are you reading and skill developing? Are you looking at skills as a leader? Are you looking at skills in sales? Whatever the area that you're in, are you looking at sharpening? And do you have a good habit of sharpening those skills ongoing? How about your organization? Are you constantly refining, rationalizing, eliminating things that you don't need so things are in place and you can get to them quicker? Sometimes what I've found is you can get into the habit of collecting so much stuff that it's tough to get to things. And maybe you've been there before, maybe you're there now. So I'd encourage you to think about organizing, eliminating, and really refining, streamlining as an ongoing habit. Tapping people of influence, like your coach with us. From time to time, if you got a question, email me. How about as a mentor? Are you tapping your mentors as well as you could? Just as an ongoing habit, you go out and have dinner with your mentors. Do you take the time to put that on your calendar? Your informal board, if you like that concept that we've shared before, let me ask you to think about that. Are you really tapping as an ongoing kind of situation and emailing and connecting, getting insights? Helping others, are you doing that? Are you helping your colleagues? Are you looking at other departments? Are you looking at other people that work for you, people work beside you, people that work in a sister company, organization? Maybe they're even clients. Are you looking for ways to really help people as an ongoing habit? Being able to put positive things out in life. How about list management? That's a big one to me. We really believe in that around here. Matter of fact, as people come in from all over, right here in the studio, we teach them and show them distinctions of how we do daily lists, how we look at our master list each morning and look at all the things that we need to do as a team. And then each day, how we look at our list and say, what did we perform? What did we get done? We put X's on the things we got done. We put a slash on things that we made some progress on. And we get a goose egg if we didn't take any action. Being able to manage the list, that's a great thing, a habit to be in. Being able to look at your list and ask yourself constantly, what's the best use of my time? Glance down at your list and say, hey, is there something that I can do there? A great, great habit from a business perspective. Again, those are some of mine, some of ours I wanted to share with you. Now on the eliminate side, not completing things, that's a bad deal, man. If you got things happening and you haven't completed it, it pulls energy from you. Whether it's large or small, be careful about that habit. Stressful reactions, sometimes getting mad or getting upset, flying off the handle, not a good habit to be in. Failure to look at other people's perspectives. Now again, the whole angle deal. Someone may say something, you're going, wow, that doesn't make sense. But if you can go, wow, I need to think for a minute. What's their perspective? Where are they coming from? What's their background? What's their history that's causing them to act, react, say, to do or not do? That's a great, great habit to be into, is to really look at and reflect at other people's perspectives. So there you have it. From a business perspective, some of mine, both sides, your turn. Go ahead and pause now. Write them down or type them up. Go for it. So now we're going to move into one very, very powerful exercise now to kind of wrap this piece up. This is one of my favorite things to share with people. When people come in here, sitting right here in the studio, matter of fact, I had an executive that built a big, big franchise organization come in just in the last 2 weeks, and we sat down and looked at this, and of all the things I shared, one of the favorite things that he had is what I'm about to share with you right now. And that's really setting up a good list of daily standards. These are standards, these are habits, things that you want to do day in and day out. Where I glance down at mine, I've got them typed up, and I have them in my phone, so I look at them, and I make sure that I'm doing them day in and day out. And I'm going to share with you my 12. I've had these standards now for years, and I look at them, refine them, and I live them out every single day, and I'm going to encourage you to do the same. So here's mine. Every day I want to start with prayer. For me, that's extremely important, to really pray to God about what I'm doing, to be in His will, to really be the best I can to be, to have a relationship, communicate, connect with God every single day. In the morning and throughout the day, of course. Team huddles, where we work together with our team, and what I do is I bring that together, whether we're in the studio or in my office or if we're off-site, and we huddle as a team to really look at what are the best things, what are the priorities, what do we need to do day in, day out. That's a great habit to be into if you're not doing that, and that's one of our standards. Pipeline management or pipeline review, we look at the things that are coming into our world as opportunities. Our master list, as I mentioned, we look at all the different things that we have. How do we prioritize, put all of our lists and tasks together? Touching our team members inspirationally. That's one of the things I want to do is I want to smile every morning. I want to come in and I want to have a positive attitude. I want to glow in my face. I want to transfer that energy. Maybe that's something you need to be working on. As a daily standard, I want to do that with the people around me, whether it's on the phone or in person, or even if I'm emailing or texting. I do that a lot to get started with my day. Communicating appreciation to all those around me. Personal and professional notes, email, I want to do that day in and day out as part of my daily standards. Showing gratitude for people that are on my team, that are part of my life, that I do business with. Organizing, again, that's part of who I am. Not who I started out being, but who I am today, is creating the habits where I'm constantly organizing, refining part of my daily standards. Visualizing with further clarity where I want to go with refinement. I'm constantly emailing my business manager and emailing him on different distinctions and things where he can really see where my head's at. Modeling exceptional behavior, including enjoying life. How about this? How many times do we get so stressed out and so focused on really, really producing more dollars or getting some kind of completion happening, and we're not enjoying life? Let me tell you what, life's a journey and we want to enjoy it. I think it's an important piece. I know it is for me. Eating healthy, you've heard me say that many times. I think that's a great habit to have on your daily standards. And of course, doing favors in advance where you really help people out. So there's my 12. Again, for the benefit of you, what I'm going to do is leave those 12 up for a minute as I'm asking you to pause. I want you to look at those. Feel free to take any of those that you'd like and use them for yourself. I know when I work with clients right here in the studio, many of them like the refinement that I've already done and they model some of those distinctions. You're certainly welcome to do that same thing. So if you would, write down 8, 10, 12, 15 different standards that you say day in and day out, I want to live up with these. I want to live up to these. I want to do these. These are things that I want to be in my everyday habits. So go for it. Pause now. Okay, so here we go. Let's move into this. So developing your daily standards that you want to do daily. So we've completed our exercise. Hopefully I've expanded your thinking on habits. I know you know they're important, but hopefully you've thought about what you want to refine in each of the primary roles, what you want to eliminate, and you thought about from a daily perspective, what do you want to live up to day in and day out? So here's the VIPs of what we just covered. Number one, be intentional about your habits. Don't let them just form, but be intentional, be strategic, really think about them. Review your habits by the primary roles that you play in life, spouse, parent, even managing yourself, the different roles that you play. Expand on the good, eliminate the bad, and create and review your daily standards. I encourage you to type that in, put it into your iPhone, put it into your iPad, your slate, your computer, wherever it is for you. Look at it, type it up. I've done that. Put it on your closet, put it on your cubicle, wherever it is so you can see it, your daily standards. So in closing, your habits really do impact your results.